You ever wondered what makes a good psychiatric nurse? Do you have what it takes to be a good one? Well, in this video, that's what I'm exactly going to talk to you about. I'm going to list 5 assets that makes a good psychiatric nurse. So stay tuned. Hello, YouTube family. This is Caroline. I'm a board-certified psychiatric nurse practitioner out of California. This channel is about mental health nursing, tips, tricks, advice, and everything that I learned throughout my journey as a psychiatric nurse practitioner. If this is something that interests you, please make sure to hit the like button, subscribe, and also don't forget to hit the bell button so that you get notification and first dibs on videos that come out. Well, let's dive in. So you are probably here because of 2 things. One, you're probably already a psychiatric nurse and you're thinking about how you can improve your skills. Good job. I'm glad that you're thinking about that. Number 2 is that you're thinking whether this is the right field for you. Either you're in a different types of nursing, ER nursing, med surg or ICU, or still just a nursing student, or not even in the nursing field and still thinking about whether this is something that you would like to do. Well, I really want to give you this 5 tips because it's something that I learned throughout my 17 years in the mental health nursing field, and I think I probably can say this with conviction because I actually was fortunate enough to win the Caring Nurse Award back in 2012 in the hospital that I used to work for as a psychiatric nurse. And almost like winning the Oscars in the nursing field when you're recognized that way, because you're not just in the psychiatric nursing, but it's in the entire hospital that I was actually competing with. So, and all the other nurses were amazing, but I was glad that I won because I got some money and also some awards. So there you go. So let's talk about the first one. The first skill is the ability to connect easily with patients. Psychiatric nurses have that easily, and it may be something that they already have as a personality, or it could be something that they've learned throughout the years. And it could be any patient, from someone who's really emotional, having difficulty with their stressor at the moment and their symptoms, or someone who's very either in a psychotic state or in a delusional state, or even who's very angry. So the ability to connect with patient, no matter what the patient is going through and what the patient is presenting, that's actually one of the biggest psychiatric nursing skill. The ability to listen, for sure, is also a big one. Number 2, the ability to use therapeutic communication when it's really needed. Psychiatric nurses are not only a nurse who administers medication, does the vital signs, follow through with the doctor's order, but we're also therapists pretty much. We acknowledge, we validate the patient, we'll listen attentively to the patient, we give them feedback, and sometimes advice, life advice. So we become also a life coach in some ways. It also helps the patient process emotions in a more therapeutic interaction. Psychiatric nurses do not argue with patients who may be having some delusional thought process or symptoms. I actually saw a nurse, amazing nurse to a psychiatric nurse inpatient, and the patient was having this delusion that he's going to buy the entire hospital. And the psychiatric nurse's response was, instead of saying, "You can't afford this," she said, "Well, the hospital is not for sale." Do you see the difference there and how she framed it? So the patient does not need to be defensive. She just gave a realistic viewpoint. Number 3, psychiatric nurses are not afraid of patients who may be yelling, screaming, angry. Pretty much, what we're skilled for, right? And I'm not saying that everyone do not get scared, but we are pretty much trained to handle situations like this. I have yet to still know a psychiatric nurse who hasn't been kicked, slapped, hit, hair pulled, or spat at. So not to say that this is something that happens all the time, but it happens when patients are having difficulty with their emotions and their thinking, and of course it's not their fault. This is something that's possible. Really good psychiatric nurses who are willing to sit down with a patient who comes in really in this very emotional state, crying a lot, and they would sit down next to the patient and just be there for the patient. They don't need to talk. The patient does not need to talk, but they're allowing the patient to to be surrounded by someone. So I think that is a huge skill of a psychiatric nurse. Remember an instance where a patient came back to our inpatient psychiatric unit because she said that she remembered one of our nurses said to her that if she's having suicide thoughts again, and after she's done her safety plan and that has not worked, that she comes back to the hospital, and she specifically said that. So it's amazing how impactful psychiatric nurses can be towards patients who are having a really hard time emotionally. Number 4, asking about suicide is not scary for us. It's something that we ask all the time, almost every shift, to all the patients that we encounter, because with depression, with anxiety, and plus if they're in the hospital, they are, at that low point in their lives that cause them to be hospitalized. So it's something that's a big risk factor. Being able to assess for risks, psychiatric risks, either suicide risk, homicidal risk, is something that psychiatric nurses, not just psychiatric nurse practitioners, are very well skilled on. And they will ask the right questions and no hesitation, and ask about other things, specifics about the suicide attempt, about the suicide thoughts, the planning, and all of that. So they have all the skills and the knowledge necessary to assess for a patient's imminent risk for suicide. Number 5, psychiatric nurses are huge mental health advocates, and they are not there because they just want to be a nurse at any field. Usually psychiatric nursing, because sometimes can be challenging. People who choose to be psychiatric nurses, they actually want to be there, and they really want to make an impact towards people having mental health issues. So their heart is in the right place, choosing this field, and they're very passionate about it. So those are the 5 assets that I think makes a very good psychiatric nurse. And if that's something that you already have, or if you're a patient who have encountered a psychiatric nurse who have made an impact in your life, please do comment and let us know. Of course, that will make my heart full to know how it impacted your life positively. If you are a nurse or still thinking about becoming a nurse and this is a field that you're interested in, of course, please write a comment and let me know how I can help you, and I can send you resources that will improve upon your skills in terms of therapeutic communication, being able to connect with patients, suicide assessments, and all of that. Well, thank you for allowing me to give you all of those information that I learned throughout this career. And if that's something that you like, please do subscribe, like, comment, and hit the bell button so that you get notification and first dibs on next videos. Thank you so much, guys. See you again next time. Bye.